Come with us as Soft Focus travels to Great Britain. Whipped by the storms of the Atlantic Ocean for so long, this island has developed a thick protective outer crust of cliffs, rocks, and pebbly beaches. Inside this rocky exterior, several miles inland, is a delectable center comprised of luscious pastures, fluffy sheep, and creamy inhabitants. Soft Focus chooses the former, preferring character-building adversity to the easy life of the interior. Here we stroll over rocks and hurl eternal queries at the ocean. Since the water won't answer us in a manner which we can comprehend, we turn our inquiries to Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon, members of Sonic Youth, the most consistently influential and exciting band in music. Gordon and Moore are musicians, performers, poets, artists, designers, writers, actors, and champions of new sounds. I can't wait to speak with them.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, man. They love Christmas here.
How's your DJ?
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna make all. You guys look great. You do, actually. Now I'm gonna make a little announcement.
Do we have to, you make the announcement that we trot in?
Yeah, what do you think of that? Is that all right? It's like showbiz, you know. All right, I guess you guys can. Should they walk in with me?
Sure. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Just come on. Thank you very much for waiting. We're having a sound difficulty. It's funny because
You want some water?
Yeah, thank you.
I like to decant my water before I drink it.
Yeah. It has to, breathe.
Does this have a color, like a tint?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's tinted, it's flavored.
It's tinted water?
Yeah, it looks horrible to have plastic bottles on stage, and I'm sorry about that.
No, that's why I'm decanting it right now. Where'd Kim go?
I don't know. She was just.
It's over.
She's
The
kidnapped.
interview's over. Here, why don't you just pour the rest of that in there?
Whoa! How many do you think we can do?
I think that's the limit. What the hell's going on? Why are we doing an interview?
I don't know. I think there is a problem with the microphone. Yeah. All right. That's cool. All right. Are you enjoying the English seaside?
Yeah, it's great weather.
You're from a surf town.
That's right. I'm from a city by the beach, Los Angeles.
Does this remind you of?
Maybe the future of LA.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny because I asked Toby Vale what I should ask you guys, and she said, I think that Sonic Youth's influence is mainly a feminist one.
Really?
Yeah. What do you think of that?
For her, it may be. It was for me, or it is for me.
I thought I agreed with it.
I don't know. I mean, I get disturbed if I don't see enough girls in the audience, or you know, if I feel like it's shifting over to predominantly male. That makes me really nervous. Like we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, but I think there's different sort of perspectives on the why of that.
Like the other, I forget where we were playing. We were playing somewhere recently, and Thurston was having a bad show, and he blamed it on the fact he didn't think there were enough girls there. Although there were, he was just making it was a really bad excuse.
Well, it's true. You guys don't really have that. There's no real engineer dude in your group, is there?
We don't.
Yeah, like one of those characters, and those tend to be the people who attract.
Like the guy in Fucked Up.
I don't know. Is there?
We're not dude core.
Do you guys mind if I just move these?
Smoke.
Hold on a second.
See what he's got to say here.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Well, do you think that rock and roll infantilizes people?
Who's your favorite chef?
Oh.
I don't think we're going to be around long enough to answer that.
Well, what I really wanted to ask was,
Let's get to the real questions.
no, was now that music seems to have no content anymore. You know, once upon a time, people said, Morrissey, what do you think? But now people ask chefs what they think.
Oh, well, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The value of content isn't. I don't think people. I don't think there's sort of value given to content
That's
the way
what
it used to be.
Because of downloads, you think?
Well, I think, because
Like you can't
there's no more
download a
fetish
meal.
object.
I'm
sorry?
You can't download a meal. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Wait till we can. This is so good. Well, yeah, so you have these chef characters, and instead of being like Morrissey, who's like, I don't eat meat, they're like, I hate vegetarians. Like, they're very outspoken, and they have a lot of, it's like a whole new thing, these horrible.
Like, do you think they're
horrible chefs.
bullies?
I'm sorry?
Bully chefs?
Yeah, they're very macho. It's very macho. It's like heavy metal or something. Isn't it? It's really gory, like.
Well, their philosophy, I think the chef philosophy is pretty much that vegetarianism sort of denies this concept of the animal actually sort of giving itself to our species as a matter of honor. Vegetarianism goes against that philosophy. And that conflict will always remain. And chefs they sort of, it is sort of, there's a certain bullyism there in a way.
Yeah.
I think they lead a hard life, and their time span is very short. Much like, I guess, in
Like a
traditional
rock and roll
pop
star.
stars. Yeah. And so they're bitter and
Like pop stars.
kind of, I guess.
Yeah, but the punk chef is kind of a new thing in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, who's that dude who wrote the book that was kind of
The Naked Chef?
no, not the Naked Chef, the punk chef, the Kitchen Confidential dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he used to listen to Dead Boys and Dictators cassettes while he was preparing 5-star
Do you believe
meals.
these people, though, when they say they listen to that music?
Do I believe them?
Yeah, I mean, do you believe Anthony Bourdain? He probably didn't. Or maybe he did for a day. I'm tired of these people cherry-picking their history. It's like, well, I was really into this thing, you know?
Yeah, I think he was telling the truth.
Really?
Yeah,
I'd like to know.
I think so. What else you got?
Well, for example, I read
What bands
recently
are you really into right now? You seen anything good here?
I haven't seen anything yet.
You DJ'd last night. What records did you play?
Well, I played Little Cheryl, Mama Let the Telephone Ring. And I played a lot of records.
Yeah.
They were pretty short. Each one was pretty short. But wait, but this is really your interview. Nobody really cares about. No, I did read.
You're far more fascinating than
I read an interview with you, and this was a fascinating quote. You said, "I want to be a record."
Well, yeah, the whole idea of starting a record label is just like such a drag because nobody buys records, and it's just like it costs so much money to make a record, and you're just kind of, But for me, it's like I don't really care if anybody buys the records in a way. I just sort of I like making them in a way. That's sort of, and I feel like I always feel like I want to sort of be manifest as a record in a way. Yeah, I want to be a record. I mean, I always think that there's kind of almost a paradigm shift going on right now with actually sort of what the object is as far as what people find essential about art. And I kind of, the fact that nobody's really buying records anymore so much. I mean, we do to some degree, but you know, across the board, it's like it's bottomed out. And I always think that like the best deal would be sort of something that acts as a book and as an audio and maybe a visual thing. So yeah, I'm going to start doing a series of books that sort of have 7 inches sort of inside them. And there's a few books that exist like this already, you know, but they're mostly they're books that just sort of happen to have this kind of this record in there for the sake of novelty. Where I want to sort of balance it out now, where it's almost like a record release, but with a book or
Crass records are kind of like that a little bit.
What are
Crass?
Crass? Yeah.
Yeah, Crass record. Or a little bit like that. A book? Is it a book? Is it a record?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
You know, when we did this tour a couple of years ago, where we actually ATP, Barry Hogan, the promoter of ATP, kind of is the one who sort of enforced the idea of us sort of going out and doing all of our album Daydream Nation in one concert. And I was really sort of purist about it, where I was like, to the point where like, I think if we're going to go out and do this, we have to do it as if we were that record playing on stage, like, you know, animated. And to the point where I wanted to sort of have the backdrop be like showing the vinyl LP playing with the stylus on it as we were playing through it.
Oh, that's good.
And then having it flipped over. I got shot down on that concept.
I like it. That's good.
Well, we just didn't have any time to, but I mean, he thought of it at the last minute.
It was that sound check
It would
that I
have
thought.
been a good idea. We would have done it.
The good ideas always come, right? Oh, next time. Wow, that's good. Somebody, a European, said to me recently, we saved jazz. And I said, maybe you ruined jazz. What do you think of that?
No, you know what ruined jazz was kind of the whole sort of rebop kind of movement of people like
Classicism or whatever.
classicism. People, you know, people.
Win Marsalis, yeah.
Bringing back this kind of model of traditional jazz, which was played so magnificently by, you know, the people who were creating it. That to recreate it is just sort of, I find extremely dull.
So what about this thing in rock and roll, like all these like
Rockabilly?
the reunion, all these reunions of like the Pixies? Is that kind of the same kind of thing? do you think?
No, I mean, they're playing their own music.
They should have never broke up in the first place.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be as big.
It's true. That's our problem.
So, yeah. What do you think of that? This kind of celebration of people who break up. It's kind of like the death thing. It's like the Jimi Hendrix or the Jim Morrison thing. But then
That's next. You start excavating like dead rock people and
Vampires.
setting up on stage on crucifixes and playing Murzbow.
Well,
That's why black metal is so good, because it's all about being dead anyway.
yeah. Black metal can never die.
Yeah,
Will never die.
it can't die. It's deathless. I think any music that sort of proclaims itself as having absolutely no interest in being music is kind of like the most interesting music.
Yeah. This is interesting. Yeah, it's like bands that are too referential to music, or music that's it's like a dead end.
Yeah.
That's we're really into this group.
Yeah.
You can never be better than
That's
that.
why all those underground black metal bands are so fascinating, because it's just like, there's like, whatever you do, please do not confuse what we do with music. Like, they don't want to be part of any other. It's so fascistic in a way. It's like we have nothing to do with that, which is playing music. We're doing something else entirely. Even though they're using guitars and drums and microphones.
Why do they make CDs and cassettes?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's an interesting thing. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, you know,
They could be chefs.
we're you know, we're,
They
might as
They
well
really
be.
got it all wrong.
Well, a lot of people wanted to see this conversation, and it makes one think that maybe people want to see other things besides just bands.
I'm always interested because like I said, I don't really listen to records that much, even though I do like them. But of course, I'd rather just sort of have them. But
Yeah.
I like actually going to see bands and see music, and I sort of like the experience of sort of being in a room and actually watching how somebody's doing something in a way.
Yeah.
And it's of the moment. It can't be repeated. It's not a static medium like film or a record.
Yeah.
That's not, if you miss a film, it's no big deal. You can go see it some other time.
Yeah.
It's still going to be the same film, hopefully. But a live performance is not. I mean, it's this really sort of kind of sensual experience. But it's funny sometimes when I watch bands, and I sort of have access to watching bands in ways that are maybe a little more privileged, where I can actually sort of get away from like the throngs and sort of like maybe sit by the monitor board and actually sort of study them, which I really like to do. And by having that perspective, I can also sort of look out into the audience, and I can sort of see how the audience is looking at the bands. And everybody is always very focused on the bands, and sometimes the bands will be completely motionless, and not only motionless but kind of emotionless, where they're just standing there and they're just sort of like they're doing what they do. I mean, they're making the music, but they're not really sort of they're not really getting too wet with it or whatever. Yeah. But then again, some people completely do. I mean, if you watch the Stooges now with Iggy, I mean, Iggy's so performative. I mean, he comes out and it's really dangerous. I mean, he'll go out and he's in the audience every song, and he's throwing his mic stand at Mike Watt's head, and it's just like it's completely crazy. I mean, it's really wild. It's really feral and stuff like that. But then you'll go see another band, and they just sort of stand there, and they're just getting through their set. But still, everybody's completely attuned to it. And sometimes I just sort of wonder, it's like, well, what's so fascinating about that? Like watching somebody actually standing there and doing that. It's like when my relatives come see us play, like when we play in New York or whatever, and my relatives live around this New York area, and they're like, put us on the guest list, we want to come see you, and it's just like, we want to come, make sure we have all access, and we come back. And it's really annoying, because it's like me calling them and saying, like, I'd like to come and hang out with you in your office all day while you're working. And just sort of watching you while you're doing what you're doing. And it's just like, I can't, it's turned into like a family social event. And it's just like, I will gladly go to your house and hang out with you, but I can't really make this a family social event because I'm really kind of focused on working. I mean, it's just like, it's not just fun and games. So there's that weird. It's a weird thing. I don't know why I sort of went into that as far as talking about the audience thing, but.
But I did want to ask you. You guys are kind of leaders, whether you like it or not. There's a kind of leader thing. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe leaders is a bad term, but people are so averse to lead now. And do you think it's because Martin Luther King was assassinated? I mean, the FBI.
John Lennon.
Yeah, the FBI and the CIA killed all the leaders, and now there's really no leaders. There's some right-wing leaders, but there's no So you guys have this. You're sort of leaders, whether it's by default or not. Maybe you didn't choose. You might not have chosen that, but.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Is it a heavy burden to have that kind of leadership role for people to be? I guess this is what I mean.
Thurston's a Leo.
Yeah, you're a Leo. You're a natural leader, like Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
Obama's a leader.
Yeah,
Leo.
and Bill Clinton, and Madonna,
Right.
and Mussolini. That's true. Leo, and he looked good.
Mussolini?
Yeah, little black gloves.
I was talking to this. We had lunch today with this rock writer, Clinton Halen, who wrote From the Velvets to the Voidoids, and he wrote Behind the Shades, the Bob Dylan book. And he was talking about how Joy Division really sort of came out of being football gang leaders. Like these guys, and it's not really depicted in the film Control or even in the documentary. But they were really football hooligan kind of like gang leaders, and he remembers them because he's a Mancunian, and he remembers being on like the football buses with these guys, and they were just kind of like they were like the total badasses. And he says, in a way, a lot of the initial punk bands from 76, 77 sort of came out of this fervor of being football fans. John Lydon was totally into his teams and such as that. And then he started saying that people still sort of talk about 1958 when this one airplane went down. There was like this famous football team on there that all perished. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting because 1958, I think, is sort of, you're talking about
The Big Bopper.
Yeah, 1958 is sort of when a lot of those people were born. And so I sort of had this theory that, like, when this whole football team perished in this flight, that their spirits went into like the births of these punk rock kids, like John Lydon and stuff like that.
Wow. Reincarnation, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my next book.
That's great. That's a good movie, too. Or a movie record book.
Yeah.
Feel.
So what about, so if you were, I guess people are going to be reincarnated in the future as web pages. What do you think of that?
Yeah, we're sort of in this sort of period of instant reincarnation right now. Yeah.
Do you feel like...
Do you blog?
No, I don't. No. Do you?
Not yet.
I'm kind of interested in it, though. I think I'm going to, in a couple of years,
Not me.
when the internet's over.
I think I want to go back to doing like Mimeo fanzine kind of.
Yeah.
Stapled Mimeo fanzine. What was the first band you ever saw?
It was Billy Joel.
Billy Joel.
No,
That's not a
no.
band.
The first band I ever saw was
Good name for a
Scream.
band. Scream?
Yeah, Scream, the Discord band. Well, it wasn't really Scream, actually. It was the band that opened for Scream.
Double O.
It was Double O, actually, but it was Eric's new band, which was after Double O.
Don't tell me. They were called what?
They were called Dove after they were called Eric's new
Dove,
band.
yeah.
But they were called ENB the night I saw them.
Yeah.
Eric's new band.
And did you know right away that you sort of
Oh, yeah.
you were going to start a band?
I was pretty excited about the whole thing. Now, wait, we only have one more minute. So before I thank everybody for coming, and before I thank Kim and Thurston, I'm going to look over my questions, see if there's any juicy ones I forgot.
Okay.
Let's just burn through that minute looking at that list.
I don't know if any of these are very good, really. Wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, because you're from New York, and people like to talk about New York bands like the Velvet Underground, and, but what about Sha Na Na and Kiss?
First band on.
Yeah.
Where's Sha Na
That was
Na?
Brooklyn,
Sha Na Na
yes.
were the first band on at Woodstock, weren't they?
Yeah. So the 50s revival was already starting in 1968.
Well, the 50s revival was so significant just in such a way because it was this real transitional thing between the Woodstock generation and punk rock.
Yeah.
I mean, Malcolm McLaren was all about like Eddie Cochran in the 50s and trying
Yeah.
to bring, this whole sort of, kind of Marlon Brando in a leather jacket kind of, rebel thing.
Yeah.
That was the punk
That was punk.
in a way.
And Brian Ferry with that record where he does all those 50s songs.
Yeah. So Sha Na Na are probably the most important band of the 20th century, yes.
Besides Sonic Youth.
Well, there was another band called Flash Cadillac and the Continental Kids that were sort of a sub-Sha Na Na kind of
There were a lot of 50s revival groups. In fact, the Cramps
greaser rock.
were not
Cramps.
punks. They were like, we're rockabilly.
Right.
Yeah,
We're rockabilly.
yeah.
And they were like, yeah.
That was
Hey.
that was the first band I actually saw in New York
Oh, really?
as a teenager,
Were they good?
driving in. Were they good?
Yeah.
No, they were third on the bill, and they were amazing. Yeah, well, they were really raw.
Yeah.
It was when they first came out from Cleveland.
Was Miriam playing drums?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
And Miriam, I remember after they played, the small audience that was there sitting at these tables just kind of sort of heckled them a little bit because they were just, it was you know, it was what it was. And they were just doing all these sort of rockabilly covers. Nobody knew what rockabilly was. I mean, it just sounded kind of perverse, and there was no bass or anything. But I do remember Miriam, the drummer, like getting up from her drum kit at the end, and she had a leopard skin pocketbook next to her drum kit, and she picked up and she opened it up and put her drumsticks inside and snapped it shut and walked off stage. And I knew right away, I was just like, wow, these guys are going places.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Well, a friend of mine has a young man story about seeing the Cramps in Washington, D.C. Guy Picciotto, actually, and walking down the street. They were walking from their hotel, and Nick Knox had nunchucks in his pocket, in his back pocket. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, I guess that's all the time we have. But thanks
thank
so
you.
much for talking, and thanks for coming.